They believed the exorcism was a success. The prayers were spoken, the room was sealed, the girl stopped screaming. And then she smiled. Not the smile of relief, not the smile of survival, a smile that meant something had already finished. You can stop now. Because during that exorcism, no demon was forced out. The body stayed. The soul didn't. This is not a story about possession. This is what happens after something else moves in. They lived in Briar Hollow, Ohio, the kind of Midwestern town that looks finished the moment you arrive. Neat sidewalks, mailboxes aligned like soldiers, a white steepled church that never locked its doors because no one ever needed it to. People here believed in routine, in predictability, in the comfort of knowing tomorrow would look like today. The Collins family fit perfectly. Avery Collins was 11, quiet, observant, the sort of child teachers described as thoughtful. She drew animals in the margins of her notebooks, always eyes first, always too detailed for her age. She slept with a moon-shaped nightlight because darkness didn't scare her. It made her feel attended, like something was nearby, waiting patiently for her to notice. Rachel Collins, her mother, noticed everything. She noticed when Avery stopped humming while brushing her teeth, when she began standing too close to doorways, as if listening to the rooms beyond them, when she stared at corners longer than walls deserved. Ethan Collins, her father, noticed patterns, and when nothing fit a pattern, he called it coincidence. It started on a Thursday night. At 2:41 a.m., Rachel woke to breathing that wasn't hers or Ethan's. It came from the hallway, slow, measured, deliberate, the kind of breathing that didn't belong to sleep. She sat up and listened. The sound seemed to come from the floor itself, as though the house had learned how to inhale. Rachel stepped into the hallway. The lights didn't respond to the switch. At the end of the corridor, Avery stood in her bedroom doorway, bare feet on the carpet, eyes open. The nightlight behind her was dark, leaving the room unnaturally black, deeper than the hallway, deeper than shadow should allow. "Avery?" Rachel whispered. Avery tilted her head, not toward her mother, but slightly past her, as if someone else had spoken. "I don't need it anymore," Avery said. "Need what, honey?" "The light." Rachel reached for the switch in Avery's room. The bulb shattered with a sharp pop the moment her finger touched plastic. Darkness folded inward, swallowing the space. In that darkness, Avery smiled. It wasn't wide, it wasn't playful, it was precise, like a decision. Rachel told herself it was sleepwalking, night terrors, the words parents use to fence fear into something manageable. By Friday, Avery stopped eating. She drank water only if it was warm. Cold made her gag violently, her body rejecting it like poison. At school, she corrected her teacher's pronunciation of a Latin phrase written on a history poster, perfectly, without hesitation. When asked where she learned it, Avery blinked once. She said, "From listening." That night, Rachel heard fingernails against paint. Slow, careful, not scratching, tracing. On Saturday morning, they went to the hospital. Blood work came back clean. No fever, no infection. Avery sat on the paper-covered exam table, humming a tune that never repeated. When the nurse tried to take her blood pressure, the cuff tightened on its own until the Velcro screamed. "Machines malfunction," the doctor said, with a smile that ended too quickly. "It happens." Rachel noticed Avery watching the reflection in the stainless steel tray beside the bed. Not her own, something behind it, something that didn't move when Avery moved. That evening, Avery spoke for the first time all day. "You should cover the hallway mirror," Avery said calmly over dinner. Ethan looked up. "Why?" "It's rude," as Avery said, "to leave doors open." At 11:13 p.m., every mirror in the house cracked at the same time. Not shattered, cracked. Thin, branching lines like veins under skin. Rachel called the church. St. Agnes had been standing longer than anyone remembered why it was built there. Father Thomas Hale arrived after midnight. He brought a recorder and a stethoscope, and eyes that had learned to stay calm when calm stopped helping. Avery sat on her bed, hands folded in her lap. The air smelled faintly metallic, like rain before it falls. "Avery," Father Hale said gently, "do you know why I'm here?" She nodded. "Because you're late." Her eyes were clear, brown, human. That was the worst part. They began with prayers, soft at first, then louder. Avery didn't scream. She didn't thrash. She listened, head tilted, lips curved in polite interest, like someone hearing a familiar song played slightly out of tune. When Father Hale spoke the first blessing, Avery's shadow moved before she did. It slid across the wall, stretching thin, then folding in on itself like a kneeling figure. The room grew warmer, not humid, not suffocating, warm, like breath against skin. "Stop," Avery said pleasantly. "You're waking the house." The bed frame creaked. The nightstand shifted closer to the wall without scraping. Rachel felt pressure in her ears, like descending underwater. In the corner, darkness thickened, taking on edges. Rachel reached for her Bible. Avery smiled. "That won't help anymore," she said pleasantly. "It already left." "What left?" Ethan demanded. Avery looked at him then, really looked. Her pupils widened until brown disappeared. "Me." They moved her to the rectory before dawn, and windowless room beneath the church. Concrete floor, old hooks in the ceiling from a time no one discussed. The air down there was always cold. The recorder clicked on. At the first prayer, Avery's heartbeat slowed. At the second, it skipped. At the third, it stopped. The monitor screamed. No one moved. Rachel reached for Avery's hand. It was warm, too warm, skin alive with heat, as if something beneath it still worked the body, pumping warmth through veins that no longer answered to a pulse. Avery opened her eyes. She smiled. "You should have let it finish," she said. The floor vibrated, hooks swayed, tapping softly like nervous fingers. The temperature dropped hard, breath fogged, candles bent inward, flames starving toward Avery. "What are you?" Father Hale asked. Avery frowned, as if the question bored her. What a small thing to ask for something this late. The Bible slid across the floor on its own and stopped at her feet. Pages flipped faster and faster, the sound like wings trapped inside a box. "She already tried that," Avery sighed. "She was loud." Rachel whispered, "Give her back." Avery turned slowly. For a heartbeat, something human flickered, recognition, hunger, then vanished. "There's nothing to return," Avery said. She emptied out beautifully. The walls groaned, hairline fractures spread, dust rained down, one hook tore free and hit the floor. The monitor went silent. No signal, no body, just dead equipment. Father Hale stepped back, shaking. "In the name of God!" Avery laughed, soft, amused. "Here's still talking to the door," she said. "I'm already inside the room." Her spine arched at an angle bone was never meant to hold. A deep internal sound followed, like something settling into place. Her feet lifted from the floor, only an inch, enough. Laura screamed. The candles went out. Darkness collapsed inward, thick and heavy. In it, something moved, large, patient. Then the candles relit. Avery lay still. No smile, no breath, no warmth. "She's gone," Father Hale whispered. Relief flooded the room, ugly and wrong. They didn't notice the shadow on the far wall at first, taller than the ceiling, darker than absence, leaning closer. Avery's lips moved. The recorder caught the whisper layered beneath another whisper, beneath another. "We're ready now." And somewhere beneath St. Agnes Church, something answered. They sealed the basement. Father Thomas Hale ordered the iron door shut, the kind that hadn't been used in decades. Its hinges screamed as if protesting. The latch fell into place with a sound too final for comfort. Candles were relit in a tight circle, their flames low and bending inward, starving toward the center of the room where Avery Collins lay motionless on the concrete. For exactly 3 minutes, nothing happened. Rachel counted each breath she couldn't feel Avery take. Ethan stared at the girl's chest, willing it to rise. The recorder hummed, red light steady, patient. This was the quiet people mistook for mercy. Then the floor exhaled. It wasn't a sound so much as a pressure, air forced upward through stone. The candle shuddered, dust lifted and hovered, refusing gravity. Avery's fingers twitched once, twice. Her hand curled, nails scraping concrete with a sound like chalk dragged across bone. Father Hale swallowed. "Begin again." The prayers resumed, louder now, layered, Latin threading through English, faith stacked upon faith like weight meant to pin something down. The words didn't echo, they vanished, as if absorbed by the room itself. Avery's lips parted. "No," she said calmly, "that's not the order." Her eyes opened, fully, awake, focused. The shadows behind her peeled off the walls. They didn't detach all at once. They slid, stretched, thinned, then gathered again, pooling at the corners of the ceiling. Where they met, the darkness deepened into something with dimension, depth that bent the eye and made the head ache to look at it too long. Father Hale stepped forward, raising the crucifix. Avery laughed. Not small this time, wider, almost kind. "You don't have permission," she said. "You never did." The crucifix went hot in Father Hale's hand. Not warm, hot enough to blister. He gasped and dropped it. The metal struck the floor and skidded, stopping upside down at Avery's feet. Rachel felt it then, the wrongness. Not fear, not panic, the sensation of being evaluated, like a presence moving through the room, touching each person with a tension that lingered too long. Avery's body lifted, not jerking, not snapping upward. It rose smoothly, like a thought becoming an action. 6 inches, a foot, higher. Her spine bent backward, slow and deliberate, vertebrae shaping themselves into an angle that denied anatomy. Skin along her ribs rippled as if something underneath shifted position. Ethan shouted Avery's name. She didn't look at him. Names don't reach where she went, they just echo. The candles went out again. Darkness slammed down, thick and immediate. In it, something moved, not fast, not slow, measured, confident. Rachel heard breathing at her shoulder, not Avery's, not Ethan's. She didn't turn. A voice spoke from everywhere at once, layered beneath Avery's, beneath itself, a harmony of wrong. She consented. The candles flared back to life. Avery hung suspended above the floor, her hair floating as if underwater. Her mouth opened wider than it should have. The skin around her jaw stretched, thin and shining. From her throat came a sound that wasn't screaming, too controlled for that. It was resonance, like a bell struck deep underground. Father Hale dropped to his knees. In the name of God Almighty, Avery laughed. The sound cracked the concrete. You keep saying that, but you don't know which God you're asking. The hooks in the ceiling began to sway again. One by one, they twisted, metal groaning as if bit by unseen hands. The air grew heavy, pressing against lungs, forcing shallow breaths. Rachel tasted iron, her vision tunneled. Avery's chest split. Not open, parted. Skin drew back along a seam that hadn't existed before, revealing darkness beneath, deeper than shadow, deeper than the corners of the room. Inside that dark, something shifted, slowly, as if turning to face them. Ethan retched. The recorder's red light flickered, then steadied. "This body is suitable," Avery said, her voice layered now, plural. It was empty, it was clean. Father Hale crawled backward, scrambling for words that no longer assembled themselves correctly. His faith had always been a ladder, rung after rung of ritual and rule. Here there was nothing to climb. Rachel stepped forward. It wasn't bravery, it was refusal. "Give her back," she said again, louder this time. "You don't get to keep her." Avery's head tilted, slowly, thoughtfully. "You misunderstand. Keeping isn't the goal." The shadows on the ceiling stretched downward, reaching. One brushed Ethan's shoulder. His skin blistered instantly. A perfect handprint burned into flesh. He screamed. The sound fed the room, deepening the dark. Avery descended. Her feet touched the floor without sound. The seam in her chest closed, skin knitting together as if it had never been broken. She stepped out of the candle circle. The flames followed her, leaning, desperate. "You wanted an exorcism, so we came to observe." Father Hale shook his head, sobbing. This isn't how it works." Avery stopped inches from him. "No," she agreed softly. "This is how it ends." The iron door behind them rang like a struck bell. Once, twice, the latch bent inward. Something pressed against it from the other side, testing. Avery looked toward the door with interest. "They're early," she murmured. "Good." Rachel realized then what the presence felt like, not invasion, arrival. The lights overhead burst, glass rained down, the room plunged into a red pulsing glow from the emergency bulbs, flickering, unreliable. In that light, the shadows gained shape, limbs, angles, forms that suggested intention. Avery turned back to her parents. Her eyes softened. "Don't follow," she said. "You won't like what you become." The iron door buckled, metal tore. Something on the other side laughed, low and vast and pleased. Avery smiled again, and the recorder captured her final words of the night. "Begin." They never found Avery Collins, not in the rubble beneath St. Agnes Church, not in the surrounding woods, not in the river 3 miles east where people said shadows moved against the current. There was no blood, no body, no evidence of a struggle. The official report called it a structural collapse, followed by an electrical fire. The church was condemned within 48 hours. Yellow tape went up, then concrete, then steel. Enough layers to convince anyone who needed convincing that whatever had happened down there was finished. Briar Hollow tried to forget. The town always did. Rachel and Ethan Collins were given a folder an inch thick and a single sentence repeated by different mouths. "Your daughter is gone." They nodded. They signed. They learned how to breathe around the shape of that sentence without letting it crush them outright. Months passed, then years. Rachel stopped praying entirely, not out of anger, out of fear. She no longer trusted who might be listening. Mirrors disappeared from her home. She slept with lights on, not because of the dark, but because silence had learned how to feel crowded. Ethan aged quickly. His hair went gray in uneven patches. He developed a habit of watching people's mouths when they spoke, as if waiting for something else to answer through them. They moved twice. It didn't help. 3 years later, the call came from Cedar Ridge, Kentucky. A small hospital, a routine birth, no complications until the end. The baby girl was delivered stillborn. No heartbeat, no breath, no cry. The attending physician recorded the time of death. Then the infant opened her eyes. Not reflexively, not briefly. She held them open. The nurse stepped back, shaking. She would later say the baby didn't look confused or frightened. She looked aware. And then she smiled. The smile was small, controlled, precise. The baby never breathed. The body cooled quickly, unnaturally fast. The hospital chaplain was called. He requested records, not local ones, but archived files flagged with a keyword he hadn't seen in years. Exorcism, Minor, Ohio. The tape arrived sealed. Rachel and Ethan were contacted that same week. They sat in a quiet observation room at the hospital, the walls padded to soften sound. A tape recorder sat between them, older than most of the equipment in the building. The chaplain didn't stay. He set the tape down, pressed play, and left without looking back. The prayers began. Latin, English, trembling voices layered together. Rachel closed her eyes. Then Avery's voice came through the speakers, calm, steady, unmistakable. "You wanted an exorcism." Static hissed. "So we came to observe." Ethan's breath caught. The tape didn't end where it was supposed to. There was more. Footsteps, more than one, a sound like something heavy being set down gently. Then a voice Rachel had never heard before, older, close to the microphone, intimate in a way that made her skin crawl. "This vessel is complete." Another voice answered, then another. They weren't arguing, they were confirming. Avery spoke again, quieter now, almost curious. "How many?" A pause, then the reply, "Enough." Rachel's hands began to shake violently. "Stop it," she whispered, though no one was touching the machine. The chaplain returned. His face was pale. "That wasn't possession," he said carefully. Ethan looked up at him. "Then what was it?" The chaplain hesitated. "It was a trial," he said, "a controlled removal." Rachel stared. "Removal of what?" The chaplain swallowed. "The soul." The truth came apart slowly, like something that had been designed to be understood only in pieces. The exorcism at St. Agnes hadn't been meant to save Avery. It had been designed to see if a human soul could be extracted cleanly without destroying the body. No rupture, no decay, no rejection. Avery hadn't been taken. She had been emptied. What entered her afterward wasn't a demon, it was a model, something learning how to occupy a human body correctly. The chaplain slid a file across the table. Since Briar Hollow, there had been thousands of cases. Stillborn infants who opened their eyes, babies who never cried, children who didn't sleep, only watched, all unexplained, all quietly buried. Rachel whispered, "Why her?" The chaplain met her eyes. "Because she listened," he said, "and because the door worked." That night, Rachel dreamed of Avery. She stood in a vast white space. No walls, no ceiling, no floor. Avery looked older, calmer, like someone who had learned how to wait. "I tried to stay," Avery said softly. Rachel ran toward her. Avery raised her hand. "Don't," she said gently. "They're using me." "To do what?" Rachel sobbed. Avery's expression didn't change. "To teach the others." "Teach them what?" Avery smiled. "How to be us." Rachel woke screaming. At that exact moment across the country, something shifted. In hospital rooms, in quiet nurseries, in bedrooms where children lay awake pretending to sleep. Eyes opened, not all at once, not dramatically, just enough. In Briar Hollow, beneath layers of concrete and steel, something old settled comfortably in place. Because the exorcism had succeeded, the soul could be removed, and now that they knew how, there was no reason to stop.